The weekly sales for the Switch here, and these are the sales for all of the new games. There have been a lot of new games released, obviously, but it seems that the PS5 is still not selling too well in Japan. PS5 only sold 20,000 copies in Japan, even with two new massive games. I do think that people have finally moved on to the next generation of consoles in Japan. They have left the last generation of consoles in the dust. But the Switch is still dominating despite the release of massive PS5 games like Dragon's Dogma 2 and Rise of the Ronin as well. So the best-selling game of the week was Princess Peach Soul Time with 27,000 copies sold. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continues to sell well in Japan, selling around 5.7 million copies. I wonder, will Mario Kart 8 Deluxe pass 6 million? I think it probably will. Mario Bros. Wonder sold 1.8 million. Minecraft sold 3.4 million. New Horizons sold 7.7 million. And Splatoon 3 sold 4.2 million. These are a lot of copies being sold. Again, Japan still loves physical media. It's just they don't like PlayStation games anymore. I just don't think people really care all too much about the PS5. And yes, this is not including digital sales. Of course, Dragon's Dogma 2 and Rise of Ronin could be selling very well digitally. Same thing with Final Fantasy 7, which is off this list. Let's remember, the game was supposed to sell very well because of Tifa's titties, but I guess people don't care about titties too much, as Final Fantasy 7 sold too poor here. And that's, that's for the numbers for the PS5, And yeah, everybody's just laughing at the PS5 at this point. They had two massive games, and just no one cares about the PS5 anymore. And yeah, that's pretty funny. PS5 continues to not do too well in Japan compared to the rest of the world. It might actually outsell the PS4. Okay, it's PS4 sold 9.5 million units. They actually had the PS4 down here. And for some reason, the 3DS is still selling in Japan. Yeah, people are still buying the 3DS in Japan. Xbox, of course, historically, this never does well in Japan. It is. I think it did pass the Xbox One, but both Xbox isn't doing too well. They don't have any exclusives. I really think they really screwed up with the whole Game Pass bullshit. Like, most people don't give a crap about Game Pass, okay? Most people don't give a crap about people just want to play games, okay? Yes, Xbox Series X and S is a pretty great console if you want to play old games, obviously. You can play 360, Xbox, original Xbox games, Xbox One games. That has a massive library of old games. Like, if you have old games and backwards compatibility, and you don't want to buy a PC, especially if you already own an Xbox console, it is definitely worth buying if you want to play all these old games again on newer hardware, because Xbox Series X and S have the best hardware to be able to play old games for a console. Because PS5, you can't play your PS3 games, PS2 games, and PS1 games on the PS5. You can't, because Sony hates backwards compatibility. Switch, that's a bit different because the Switch has totally different hardware than every other digital console released before. But at least PS5, we could play PS2 and PS3 games on now. PS1, I think they have very different hardware, but even like PS1 needs to make it. Like, PS1 has like different discs. I think even, than PS2 and PS3. Both the PS2 and PS3, they sort of at least made for backwards compatibility for physical games, and PS3 digital backwards compatibility as well. And I think that's the problem with the PS5, in my opinion. But again, PS5 at least has the new games, argument. Which, yes, most gamers will still rather play new games than old games. There is a rising amount of people who are playing older games, but I don't think it is enough to tell the tide in the favor for Xbox or even Nintendo, because I think Nintendo can play NES, SNES, N64, Game Boy Advance games on the new hardware. Digitally, there's no physical copies of Super Mario Bros. They can play because it's very different hardware, obviously. But yeah, that's basically about this video here. Goodbye.